Hey, Kathy Beatty here, Divorce Support Anonymous. Friday night, 9 o'clock, I'm not home. I'm visiting family. So no matter where I'm at, I'm going to try my best to come and speak with you and speak into your life, hopefully to add value, to give you direction and hope. Primarily, I want you to have hope as you go through the trauma of divorce. A couple of announcements, of course. We've got to have the announcements, right? First of all, any comments or questions, feel free. I would love to have some feedback from all of you. That's every night that I'm here. Also, Single Moms and Family Camp. It's not too late to register. We still have some openings, not many, because this is a camp that is going to be really beneficial if you're a single mom and don't have a father's influence in your children's lives, especially. So there are scholarships available. There's not even a cost to you. So please consider, if this fits you, reaching out to me, and we'll get you the information, and hopefully we'll see you at camp. Spend a week together. I'll be working with the single moms, and there will be plenty of staff that's working with your kids, having opportunity for them to swim, to play games, to be with other kids, and campfires and s'mores and the whole shebang. And it's something that is a ministry to be there for single moms, because we realize there's a lot of burden for single moms. And single dads, we've not forgotten you. But this particular camp happens to focus on single moms. So hopefully you will join us there. So the topic tonight, and I'll probably be a little brief because who knows what might happen, who might enter this door right here, like my grandson who is 5, and noises and dogs and all of that. But the point remains that you are going through a trauma in your life and you need hope, like I said, primarily, but also a voice of reason, a voice that's going to give you some guidance. That is certainly my primary goal in doing these Facebook Lives, and also working with individuals as a divorce coach or as a group facilitator, and also as a domestic mediator, which is a slightly different role. But still, the goal is to be of help and support to those that can, that are going through divorce and need that support. And I love to save money for people going through the trauma of divorce through mediation, because it can be incredibly, incredibly expensive. So enough of that. Just a thought on mediation, which I have done some videos on mediation, and I need to redo them and add to them, because I do work with people who don't have attorneys going through divorce, and it's pretty tricky, and there's a lot of precautions set in place, but it is possible and something worth checking out, certainly. So I've been doing the divorce work 15 years and mediating for the last 9 years. So love to have conversation. So the question tonight is, how can you help yourself going through divorce? I want to give you 3 basic points, which you may think, well, yeah, that's pretty basic, but it's essential. And a lot of people, believe me, get themselves into a lot of trouble because they do not pay attention to these 3 points, which I am going to share with you tonight. Number 1, Don't go through this alone. I have said that repeatedly. But yet there are those people who think, I'm going to handle this on my own. I'm going to do this on my own. Maybe you've handled a whole lot in the past. I work with CEOs. I work with people who are very powerful, men and women, and think that they can handle it all. Well, this is a situation, friend. You need support and you need other expertise that you could not possibly have unless you're a divorce attorney. And so don't go alone. Don't go this alone. Get your support group, reach out to those experts, get that information that you need, and do not be stubborn and thinking that you can manage this all on your own. I promise you, you can't. There's too much to know. There's too many landmines that you could find yourself in. And that's true in every area, emotionally, spiritually, financially, legally. Don't go through it alone. So that's my one point. And I hope and pray that you will listen to that because I've seen too many examples of people who think they can handle it and get themselves in all kinds of difficulties because they have pride and privacy. And I get that. I totally get that. I'm a very private person. But you can't do this on your own. And you need support. You need to talk through it. You need guidance. You need help in an area that you've never been before. And I work with a lot of people going through their second divorce. And that's because they didn't do it right the first time. They didn't do, not always, but the majority, they didn't do the healing that they needed to do. They didn't do their work that they needed to do. And so they thought the next relationship is the answer to their life. And then they find themselves going through a second divorce. It happens way, way too often. So don't go through it alone. Point number 2, realize your vulnerable areas. I have a dog that's barking at me. Let me grab her. Come here. So she won't bark. Realize your vulnerable areas. We all have vulnerable areas. And I was really inspired to do this tonight because of some of the mediations that I've had this past week and some of the illustrations of my points. People don't realize their vulnerable areas and they think that they can bluff through it, or they don't realize they're their vulnerable areas. And it's going to hurt you in the long run. For example, mediation, a woman didn't come prepared. She opted not to have an attorney. I had to stop the mediation because she was not ready to deal with the issues. And so she was not on level playing ground. And I had to stop the mediation because she wasn't ready. She wasn't prepared. She had some vulnerable areas that she had not protected. And so to all of you, I say, know yourself and know what areas you are vulnerable. That could be a number of areas. That could be financially. A lot of people, and this is men and women, let the other person carry all of the responsibility with dealing with the finances. It comes back to haunt them because they are vulnerable in those areas because they don't know the information that the other party has. So know what those areas are. And once you realize, I don't know my finances, then you can get assistance in that area. And you don't always have to rely on your attorney because that's going to be very expensive. You can realize that vulnerable area and then get the help that you need. So there's many areas where you might be vulnerable. Finances is one. Sexuality may be another. You may be very vulnerable to and sensitive to just the right person saying just the right thing and finding yourself in a complicated relationship before you're ready. So where are those areas for you? Emotionally, you're vulnerable. Again, it could lead you astray into a wrong relationship, into believing someone else is the answer to take care and fix you. They're not. So be honest with yourself. And I would encourage you to list them. Where are my vulnerable areas where I don't know, or that I am raw and I am weak right now? Where are those areas? And how can I help myself in those vulnerable areas? If it's finances, you can get your bank person to sit down with you, or someone who is knowledgeable, a Dave Ramsey consultant, perhaps, or a class that's being offered in the nearby church. Realize your vulnerable areas and get help there. So that is a huge way in which you can help yourself. Do your homework. Do your homework. What do you need to know as you proceed through this divorce? I have a preparing for mediation workbook that's a free download that you can request from me, as many people have. I will send that out to you to help you get prepared for seeing your attorney for the first time or for going into mediation. Do your homework, because that is one way in which you can stop and help your vulnerable areas. Do what you need to do. And part of doing your homework is taking care of yourself emotionally in an emotional arena. For example, getting the counselor that you need, getting the support group to talk about the emotions that you are feeling. Don't take it to your attorney. $350 an hour, you don't want him to be your counselor. So do your homework in dealing with all the issues in the appropriate places. So your emotions, that could be a pastor, a therapist, a support group, a very informed friend. And few of us have informed enough friends to deal with you in this area. But you could possibly. So deal with emotions where you need to deal with them. Deal with legalities where you need to deal with them. Find out, what do you need to know? What are your options in going through a divorce? Do I just have to go to the courts? Or are there other ways, such as mediation? Are there do-it-yourself techniques that you could do if the two of you could be reasonable and work together? So do your homework in all areas. How can you help yourself? Those are 3 areas that are just real quick ones. Number 1, don't go it alone. Number 2, realize your vulnerable areas. Number 3, do your homework. And let me just encourage you to not only do your homework, but be prepared. And when you go into discussion on this divorce, have your best business sense hat on. Unfortunately, your relationship is now a business transaction, and you need to be aware of how you can be that shrewd business person in mediation or in dealing with your attorney. It's not easy. There are just so many moving parts to divorce. But I hope that this has been an encouragement and a help to you. And if you're through the divorce, you've still got homework to do. You still have vulnerable areas, and you still need to find a place that you are not going through life alone. Is that a support group? Is that a therapist? Is that a friend? Is it a friend group? I don't know the answer for you, but I do know that I'm here if you have questions, concerns, and I'll be coming to you next Friday night from a remote location as well. But I will be here 9 o'clock because I want you to know that you're going to make it through this, and life is still going to be beautiful after you get through this very difficult transition. This is Kathy Beatty, Divorce Support Anonymous, and we'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.